first step is after you have cut out your pattern, you're going to make another pattern. Oops. And what I'm doing is I really want to make sure that seam is done perfectly. And so I'm going to just put this behind here, line it up, and make sure that I'm getting it onto the pattern. You can always, if you're a more experienced pattern maker, of course you can just do this without having to do this way, a little bit of a cheating way that I'm doing. Okay, so that's your pattern piece. So you're gonna need 2 pattern pieces to make one mask. So now you're gonna see this is a double layer. So I'm gonna cut 2 out of here, and then I usually turn it around and cut 2 this way to save some space. And you're gonna make sure that you have enough on the other side so that you're not nicking your fabric. You're gonna pin it down. And start cutting. So now I have my pattern piece, and I'm going to go in and I'm go right on that line with the pattern paper. Okay. Let's have 2 pattern pieces that have already been sewn, and one's using scrap paper, which is if you don't have pattern paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rip it without ripping the seam. Carefully take away the paper. It's already perforated, so it shouldn't be that difficult to get off. Again, if you are an expert, you may not have to do this, but this is, I'm just taking it from a beginner's level. Now the pattern paper is also getting teared off. Now we're just going to trim this a little bit. Be careful when you trim. Do not come too close to the seam. Just want to do like 1/8 of an inch around and follow that seam around. That's one to the other one. Now you have your trimmed first pattern piece. So we're going to turn it out like this, and I find that the sort of the nose of the iron board works really well. And I'm just going to steam it open. Just steam it back, this seam, and turn it over. Steam it on this side. And do that with both pieces until you get something that looks like this. You can see where the nose is going to be. So now you have your 2 pattern pieces, and you're going to take the correct side and you're going to match it with the other correct side. So it looks like this. The 2 seams are together at the very top. And we're going to pin this down on this side, and we're going to pin this part down. I'm going to catch these 2 together. If you can't open the seam at this spot, go ahead and open the seam and pin that too. Okay, so we're back at our machine, and we're going to go about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, about 2.5 inches from the center, and we're just going to do a little seam right on the edge. Okay, and now we're going to take these twist ties, and these are about 3.5 to 3.75 inches long, and we experimented with them, and one twist tie to go around the nose is not really powerful enough, so we tried, and 3 seems to be the magic number. So we're going to make it as small as possible, and then we're going to snake it through this little casing that we made earlier. Okay, so now it's in there, and it's not secure. I know we're going to secure it later, but we could kind of see that it's in the center, and so, you know, I'm just checking to see it's like mostly in the center. And now I'm going to just make a seam on this side and on this side to make sure it stays in the casing when we flip it. And once we flip it, we'll create a more secure place for this little piece of metal. See, I didn't make the casing long enough here, so I didn't make it a little bit longer first. Okay, and now I'm going to make a little notch here. I made a little side action so that casing, that little piece of metal will stay in place, and then we'll secure it on the other side. Make sure your needle does not go over the metal. You will break your needle. Now we're going to put a stay stitch to keep these elastics in place. The elastic loops work really well at around 6.5 inches. That gives you some space for, you know, to hold around their ears. We're gonna do the other side as well. Right up against the top seam, because you already have seam allowance there. Loop it around, and 1/2 inch from the bottom. Now we stay stitch it. Oh. Sewing machine. It's not really the sewing machine, it's me. So what I do is I try and get underneath my foot and then take out the pin. Alright, that wasn't perfect, but it'll still do. So, looks like I'm not ready. Okay. So now I'm going to choose one side, and I'm going to, well, first I'm going to actually do the bottom. So we're going to stitch the two bottoms together, and then we're going to pick one side and we're going to stitch that side. So this is like a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to stitch one of the sides, not both of them, because you have to have an opening to twist it. Okay,